Kang Tae-ho had been alone in space for 3 years. He liked it that way. His small salvage ship, the Hana, was old and slow, but it was home. Every day was the same. He would fly through dead zones and battlefields, collecting broken metal and selling it at stations. It was quiet work, safe work, the kind of work that let a man forget his past. But today was different. His scanner showed something strange in the Corvan Nebula. Among the floating wreckage of a massive battle, there was a life sign. One single life sign, weak and fading. Tae-ho stared at the screen for a long moment. The smart thing to do was to ignore it. This area was dangerous. Pirates came here often. So did worse things. But his hands moved on their own, turning the ship toward the signal. He had been a medic once, during the war. He had sworn to save lives. Some promises were hard to break. The Hana moved slowly through the debris. Broken ships floated everywhere like dead fish in a dark ocean. Tae-ho recognized some of them. Valari ships. He had heard stories about the Valari, a proud alien race that had been fighting a losing war for decades. Their enemies, the Keth Dominion, were destroying them, system by system. It seemed the Keth had found them here too. The life sign came from a large cruiser, its hull torn open like paper. Tae-ho docked his ship carefully and put on his suit. The air inside the cruiser was thin and cold. Red emergency lights blinked slowly, showing him a path of death. Bodies lay everywhere. Valari soldiers in silver armor, their skin pale gray, their eyes closed forever. They had fought hard. Tae-ho could see that from the blast marks on the walls and the weapons still in their hands. But it had not been enough. He followed his scanner deeper into the ship until he reached a large door covered in strange symbols. Royal markings. Maybe. The door was half open, and he squeezed through. Inside, he found her. She was tall, taller than any human woman, with silver skin that seemed to glow faintly even in the darkness. Long, white hair spread around her like a broken halo. She wore armor made of something that looked like black glass, and her chest moved up and down very slowly. She was alive, barely. Tae-ho knelt beside her and checked her wounds. A deep cut across her stomach, burns on her arms. Internal damage, probably. Without help, she would die within the hour. He did not think about what species she was. He did not think about the danger. He simply lifted her in his arms and carried her back to his ship. She was heavy. Her armor made it worse. By the time he reached the Hana, his arms were shaking, and his breath came in short gasps. But he did not stop. He laid her on his medical table and began to work. The next few hours were the longest of his life. Her biology was different from humans, but not so different that he could not figure it out. He stopped the bleeding. He cleaned the burns. He gave her fluids through a tube and watched her vital signs slowly grow stronger. At some point, her eyes opened. They were violet, bright like stars, and they fixed on his face with an intensity that made him freeze. She tried to speak, but only a rough sound came out. "Do not move," Tae-ho said softly. "You are safe. You are on my ship." She stared at him. Her hand moved slowly, touching his arm. Her fingers were long and cold. "What are you?" she whispered. "Human," he said. "My name is Tae-ho." Something passed through her eyes. Confusion, surprise, and something else he could not name. "Why?" she asked. Tae-ho paused. He thought about the question. He thought about all the reasons he could give. But in the end, he just shrugged. "Because you needed help," he said simply. She kept staring at him. A single tear, silver like her skin, rolled down her cheek. Then, her eyes closed again, and she fell back into sleep. Tae-ho sat beside her for a long time. He watched her breathe. He watched the monitors show her heart beating stronger and stronger. Outside the window, the wreckage of her fleet drifted silently in the void. He did not know who she was. He did not know what enemies she had, or what trouble he had just brought upon himself. But as he looked at her sleeping face, peaceful for the first time since he found her, he knew he had made the right choice. Some things were more important than safety. Some things were more important than survival. He had learned that lesson a long time ago, in the blood and fire of a war that had taken everything from him. He had forgotten it for a while, hiding among the stars, pretending he did not care about anything anymore. But tonight, a dying alien woman had reminded him. Tae-ho leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring questions. Tomorrow would bring danger. But tonight, he had saved a life. And that was enough. The Hana drifted on through the darkness, carrying two souls away from the wreckage and toward an unknown future. Neither of them knew it yet. But this was the beginning of something that would change the galaxy forever. 3 days passed on the Hana. Tae-ho barely slept. He watched over his patient, changed her bandages, and fed her small amounts of liquid food when she woke. She was getting stronger. But she still could not sit up or speak for long. On the 4th day, everything changed. Tae-ho was making a simple meal in the small kitchen when he heard movement behind him. He turned and found her standing in the doorway, one hand on the wall to keep herself steady. Her violet eyes burned with a fire that had not been there before. "Who are you?" she demanded. Her voice was rough, but strong. "What do you want from me?" Tae-ho set down his cooking tool. "I told you. My name is Tae-ho. I am a salvage operator. I found you dying in the wreckage and brought you here. That is not what I asked." She took a step forward, then stumbled. Tae-ho moved quickly, catching her arm before she fell. She looked at his hand on her skin, then at his face. "I asked what you want," she said quietly. "No one helps without wanting something." "I wanted to help," Tae-ho said. "That is all." She studied him for a long moment. Then she let out a breath and allowed him to guide her to a chair. She sat down heavily, her strength already fading. "You do not know who I am," she said. It was not a question. "No. I am Ilara, Empress of the Velari, or what is left of them." Her voice became bitter. "The Keth have hunted my people for 50 years. They destroyed our homeworld. They scattered our fleets. And now, they have found me." Tae-ho listened without interrupting. He poured her some water and placed it in front of her. "The ship you found me on was the last of my royal guard," Ilara continued. "They died protecting me. All of them. And I could do nothing but lie there and bleed." "I am sorry," Tae-ho said. She looked up at him sharply. "You mean that?" "Yes." Something shifted in her expression. The suspicion did not disappear, but it softened. She picked up the water and drank slowly. "Among my people, there is an ancient code," she said. "When someone saves your life, you owe them a debt. A life debt. It cannot be dismissed. It cannot be ignored. It must be repaid." Tae-ho shook his head. "You owe me nothing. I did what anyone would do." "No." Her voice was firm. "That is where you are wrong. Most would have left me to die. Most would have feared the Keth too much to interfere. But you did not. You carried me onto your ship. You treated my wounds. You saved me when you had nothing to gain." She stood up again, slower this time. Despite her weakness, she carried herself like a queen. Tae-ho felt the weight of her presence fill the small room. "I have no fleet," she said. "I have no wealth. I have no throne. The Keth have taken everything from me. But I have one thing left. My daughters." Tae-ho felt something cold move through his chest. "Your daughters? 3 of them. The finest warriors the Velari have ever produced. When the attacks began, I sent them away to hide in different corners of the galaxy. They are alive. They are safe. And they are all I have to offer." She placed her hand over her heart. The gesture seemed formal. "By the blood of my ancestors and the stars that bore us, I surrender my 3 daughters to you, Kang Tae-ho of Earth. They will serve you. They will protect you. They will fight for you, and honor you as they would honor me. This is my bond. This is my debt. This cannot be broken. Taeho stepped back. Wait. I cannot accept this. I do not want servants. I do not want warriors. I am just a salvage operator. It does not matter what you want, Ilara said. Her voice was sad now. The code is the code, and my daughters will follow it, whether they like it or not. Then tell them not to come. Tell them the debt is cancelled. I cannot. She met his eyes. And you will need them, Taeho. The Keth saw your ship when you rescued me. They scanned it. They know a human took me. They will come for you now, just as they came for me. The words hit him like a blow to the stomach. He had known, somewhere deep inside, that there would be consequences. But hearing it said out loud made it real. How long do I have? He asked. Days, maybe less. Ilara walked to the window and looked out at the stars. When they arrive, you must leave this sector immediately. The Keth will not stop hunting you until you are dead. Taeho stood in silence. His quiet life, his peaceful solitude, was over. All because he could not leave a dying woman alone in the dark. He should have regretted it. He should have been angry. But when he looked at Ilara, at the proud empress who had lost everything and still stood tall, he felt something else entirely. Then I guess we better get ready, he said. Ilara turned to face him. For the first time, something like hope flickered in her violet eyes. You are strange, human, she said softly. Taeho almost smiled. I have been told that before. Port Yerim was a dirty, crowded station, floating in neutral space. Pirates drank beside merchants. Soldiers sat next to refugees. It was the kind of place where no one asked questions and everyone minded their own business. The perfect place to meet. Taeho guided the Hana into the docking bay and helped Ilara down the ramp. She was stronger now, able to walk on her own, but she still leaned on him when she thought no one was looking. He pretended not to notice. They found a private room in a run-down tavern and waited. Ilara sat with her back straight, and her hands folded. Every inch an empress, despite her worn clothes. Taeho stood by the window, watching the crowds below. The first daughter arrived within the hour. She was tall like her mother, with the same silver skin and white hair. But where Ilara's eyes held sadness, this one's held ice. She wore black armor and carried herself like a blade, waiting to be drawn. Mother. Her voice was cold. She did not look at Taeho. Saris. Ilara stood and embraced her daughter. Saris allowed it for exactly 2 seconds before stepping back. I received your message. I came as fast as I could. Now, her eyes moved to Taeho. They were pale blue, sharp as knives. This is him? The human? Why? This is Kang Taeho, Ilara said. He saved my life. So you said. Saris walked toward him slowly. She was a head taller than him, and she used every bit of that height to look down at him. And you pledged us to him. Like property. Like slaves. She, like warriors bound by honor. Ilara corrected firmly. I want the debt cancelled. Saris did not blink. He is human. They are primitive. Weak. He cannot possibly be worthy of our service. Taeho stayed silent. He had expected this. Ilara had warned him that her daughters were proud. The code is the code, Ilara said. You know this. Then change it. I cannot, and I would not, even if I could. Ilara's voice softened. He did not have to save me, Saris. He risked everything. He asked for nothing in return. That is rare. That is worthy. Saris made a sound of disgust and turned away. But she did not leave. The second daughter arrived next. She came through the door like a storm, all energy and motion. Her hair was cut short, and a long, curved blade hung at her hip. Her eyes were violet, like her mother's, but brighter, more dangerous. Mother, you are alive. She ran forward and hugged Ilara tight enough to lift her off the ground. Then she set her down and spun toward Tejo. You are the human. Yes, Tejo said. She circled him slowly, like a hunter studying prey. Her hand rested on her blade. I am Vena. I have killed 112 enemies in single combat. I have never lost a fight. And you think you are worthy of my service? I think I pulled your mother out of a burning ship, Tejo said calmly. I think I treated her wounds for 3 days without sleep. I think I did not ask for anything in return. What you think I am worthy of is your choice. Vena stopped circling. Something that might have been respect flickered across her face, or maybe it was just surprise that he had talked back. Interesting, she said. Most people are afraid of me. I have seen worse than you, Tejo said. Vena laughed. It was short and sharp, but genuine. I think I might not hate you, human. The third daughter was the last to arrive. She was younger than her sisters, with silver hair that fell to her waist and curious green eyes. She wore a pilot's jacket covered in patches and carried a bag full of tools. When she saw her mother, she smiled wide and ran forward. Mother, I was so worried. She hugged Ilara gently, carefully, aware of her wounds. Then she turned to Tejo. You are Kang Tejo, she said. I am Lyra. I have been reading about humans on my way here. Your species is fascinating. You have such short lives, but you accomplish so much. How did you modify your ship to survive the radiation in the nebula? What kind of medical equipment do you use? Is it true that humans need to sleep every single day? Tejo blinked. This was not what he had expected. To the sleeping, Lyra smiled again. Wonderful. I have so many questions. War. Saris rolled her eyes. Can we focus? The Keth are coming. We need a plan, not a science discussion. As if her words had summoned it, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. A voice announced over the speakers that Keth warships had entered the system. Everyone went still. Tejo moved first. We leave. Now. All of us. I know a place the Keth cannot follow. Where? Saris demanded. A region called the Hollow. Radiation storms, dead planets. No safe routes. I hid there during the war. I know the paths. That is suicide, Vena said. The Hollow kills everything that enters. Almost everything. Tejo was already heading for the door. If you want to stay and fight a Keth fleet, be my guest. But your mother is coming with me. He did not wait for their answer. He walked out into the chaos of the station. Ilara at his side. Behind him, he heard Saris curse. Then, footsteps. 3 sets of them. Following him, he allowed himself a small smile. Maybe this would work after all. The Hollow was everything the stories said it was, and worse. Radiation storms painted the void in colors that hurt to look at. Dead planets drifted like skulls in the darkness. The stars themselves seemed sick here. Their light twisted and wrong. It was a place where ships came to die. Tejo flew through it like he was born there. The Hana was small and nimble, and Tejo knew every rock, every current, every deadly pocket of radiation. He had spent 2 years hiding here during the Earth-Orion War, learning its secrets, mapping its paths. It was the loneliest time of his life. Now it might save them all. Behind them, the Keth followed. 3 warships, each one 100 times the size of the Hana. But their size was their weakness here. They could not fit through the narrow passages. They could not react fast enough to the sudden storms. One by one, they began to fall behind. They are not giving up, Saris said from her position at the scanner. She had taken over the station without asking, and Tejo had let her. She was better at it than he was, They will, Tejo said. Give it time. Hours passed. Then days. The Keth kept coming, but they grew more cautious. They lost a ship to a radiation burst. Then another to a collision with a dead moon. Finally, on the third day, they stopped at the edge of a massive storm cloud and went no further. They are retreating, Lyra reported, her voice filled with wonder. They are actually retreating. Venna laughed and slapped her hand on the wall. The mighty Keth, defeated by one human in a garbage ship. I love it. Tejo did not celebrate. He was too tired. He had not slept in 3 days. And his hands were shaking on the controls. But they were alive. That was enough. We should rest, Ilara said. She put her hand on Tejo's shoulder. You have earned it. He nodded and set the ship to drift in a safe pocket he knew. Then he went to his small bed and fell asleep before his head touched the pillow. When he woke, things had changed. Saris was cooking something in the kitchen. She did not look at him when he entered, but she pushed a plate toward him. Eat, she said. You are too thin. Tejo ate. The food was strange but good. Where did you learn to fly like that? Saris asked without turning around. Practice, pain, desperation. He shrugged. The usual. She turned then and looked at him with those cold blue eyes. But they were not quite as cold as before. You are not what I expected, she said. Neither are you. She almost smiled. Almost. Later that day, Venna found him in the cargo hold and threw a training staff at his head. He caught it just in time. Fight me, she said. I will lose. Yes. Fight me anyway. So he did. She was faster than anyone he had ever faced. Stronger, too. She knocked him down in seconds. But he got up. She knocked him down again. He got up again. This happened 7 more times. Why do you keep getting up? Venna asked, breathing hard. You know you cannot win. Winning is not the point. Tejo said. His lip was bleeding and his ribs ached. The point is not giving up. Venna stared at him for a long moment. Then, she held out her hand and helped him to his feet. Humans are insane, she said, but there was warmth in her voice. Lyra found him in the engine room that night. She had already taken apart half of his systems and was putting them back together better than before. Your ship is amazing, she said without looking up. It should not work at all. The technology is ancient. The parts do not match. But somehow, it all fits together. Like me, Tejo said. Lyra laughed. Yes, exactly like you. She set down her tools and looked at him. Can I ask you something personal? Yes. Why did you become a salvage operator? You were a soldier. A medic. You could have done so many things. Why choose to be alone? Why choose to be alone? Tejo was quiet for a long time. He looked at the stars through the small window. I lost people, he said finally. Friends. Family. People I was supposed to save but could not. After the war, I did not want to lose anyone else. So I stopped letting anyone close. That sounds lonely. It was. It is. He turned to face her. But maybe it does not have to be anymore. Lyra smiled. It was gentle and kind, and made something in his chest feel lighter. The next morning, the Keth found them again. Somehow, they had gotten reinforcements and found a new path through the hollow. 5 warships this time, closing in fast. There was no escape. The Hana was too slow, too damaged from the journey. They were trapped. Tejo looked at the scanner and made a decision. Everyone onto Lyra's shuttle, he said. Now, what about you? Saris demanded. I am going to buy you time. He was already moving, setting coordinates, overloading the reactor. The Hana's explosion will look like a massive energy signature. The Keth will investigate. You fly the other way. You will die, Venna said. Maybe. Maybe not. I have survived worse odds. He looked at them. at these alien women who had become something more than strangers. Take care of your mother. Get somewhere safe. Live. Saris grabbed his arm. No. We are bound to you. Where you go, we go. Then I release you from the bond. You cannot. Her voice cracked. You do not understand. The bond is not just words. It is real. It lives in our blood. If you die, part of us dies too. Tejo hesitated. He had not known that. Lyra stepped forward. There is another way. I can modify the reactor to explode remotely. We all get on the shuttle together. Will it work? Probably. She was already running to the engine room. Help me. They worked together. All 5 of them. Even Ilara, weak as she was, held tools and passed wires. In 15 minutes, it was done. They fled onto Lyra's shuttle just as the Keth came into range. Behind them, the Hana flew straight toward the enemy fleet. Then it exploded, a ball of fire and light that blinded sensors for miles. The shuttle slipped away into the darkness. Tejo watched through the window as his ship burned. 3 years of his life, gone, in an instant. Venna put her hand on his shoulder. We will get you a new ship. We will get you a fleet, Saris said quietly. Tejo closed his eyes and let himself believe them. 6 months changed everything. What started as 5 refugees in a stolen shuttle became something no one had expected. Word spread across the galaxy about the human who had defied the Keth, about the Valari Empress who had survived against all odds, about the 3 warrior daughters who followed a salvage operator into the deadliest region of space and came out alive. Refugees came first. Valari survivors who had lost their homes and families found hope in Ilara's story. Then came the humans, veterans like Tejo, people who had seen too much war and wanted to believe in something again. Then came others, species the Keth had bullied and threatened, who saw a chance to finally stand up. They built a settlement on a forgotten moon and named it Nova Inchon, after the Earth city where Tejo was born. It was small at first, just a few buildings and a landing pad. But it grew. Every week brought more ships, more people, more hope. Saris took command of their defense fleet. She was born for it. Her cold eyes saw every weakness, every opportunity. Under her leadership, they turned a handful of civilian ships into a fighting force that could actually hurt the Keth. Venna trained their warriors. Humans and Valari learned to fight side by side, combining their strengths. Human endurance and Valari speed. Human creativity and Valari discipline. She pushed them hard, but they loved her for it. Lyra built everything else. Weapons, shields, engines, communication systems. She worked day and night, sleeping only when her sisters forced her to. The technology she created was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. A perfect blend of human simplicity and Valari elegance. And at the center of it all stood Tejo, uncomfortable with every moment. I am not a leader, he told Ilara one night, standing on the observation deck. I am just a medic who got lucky. No, Ilara said. She stood beside him, fully recovered now, beautiful and strong in the starlight. You are the man who taught my daughters what true strength looks like. You showed them that power is not just about killing enemies. It is about saving lives. It is about standing up when everyone else runs away. That is why they follow you. That is why we all follow you. Tejo did not know what to say, so he said nothing. The peace could not last. Everyone knew that. The Keth had been quiet for months, licking their wounds, planning their revenge. When their message came, it surprised no one. Surrender the human called Tejo, the Keth commander said through the screen. His face was dark and scaled, his eyes like black holes. Give him to us, and we will spare your settlement. Refuse, and we will destroy everything you have built. The council room was silent. Everyone looked at Tejo. He started to speak, to offer himself, to save the people who had trusted him. But Saris stepped forward first. You may have him when you pry him from our cold hands, she said, her voice like ice. And even then, you will fail. Venna drew her blade. The metal sang in the quiet room. We have been waiting for this. Come and try to take him. I dare you. 2. Lyra smiled and pressed a button on her wrist device. Outside the windows, defense platforms lit up across the moon's surface. We have been preparing for this moment. You will find us harder to break than you expect. The Keth commander's face twisted with rage. Then you will all die together. The screen went dark. The battle came 3 days later. 30 Keth warships against Nova Inchon's 12. The odds were terrible. The situation was hopeless. But humans had never been good at accepting hopeless situations. Saris commanded the fleet with cold precision. She knew they could not win in a straight fight. So she did not fight straight. She used the moon's gravity to sling her ships around, attacking from unexpected angles, disappearing before the Keth could respond. Venna led the boarding parties. When Keth troops landed on the moon's surface, they expected frightened refugees. They found an army. Humans and Valari fighting together, watching each other's backs, moving like one creature with 1,000 arms. Lyra's weapons tore through Keth shields that were supposed to be unbreakable. Her communication jammers left the enemy fleet confused and blind. Every system she had built worked perfectly, exactly when it was needed. And Teho? He did what he had always done. He ran through the battlefield with his medical kit, saving lives. Human. Valari. It did not matter. Every wounded soldier he reached was another fighter who could return to the battle. The Keth had expected fear. They found defiance. The battle lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Keth fleet was broken. 23 of their ships destroyed or captured. The rest fled into the darkness, running from the impossible settlement that would not die. That night, Nova Inchon celebrated. There was music and laughter and tears of joy. People danced in the streets of a city that should not have existed, but Teho slipped away. He found his way to a quiet observation deck, the same one where he had talked with Ilara all those months ago. He sat down and looked at the stars. The 3 daughters found him there. You saved us, Lyra said softly. All of us. We saved each other, Teho replied. Saris sat down beside him. For once, there was no ice in her eyes. Mother gave us to you as a debt. She thought she was binding us to a stranger. But you became family. We were your servants, Venna added, sitting on his other side. Now we are your sisters. And any enemy who threatens you will have to go through us first. Lyra knelt in front of him, her green eyes shining. The debt is paid. Teho, we owe you nothing anymore. She smiled. But we choose to stay. Teho looked at them. 3 alien warriors who had hated him at first sight. 3 women who had grown to respect him, to fight beside him, to love him like family. He thought about his old life, drifting alone through space, afraid to let anyone close. He was not alone anymore. Then let us make sure the galaxy remembers us, he said. Far away, in a dark throne room, a Keth High Commander stared at reports of the defeat. One human had done this. They are more dangerous than we calculated, his advisor said. The commander's claws dug into his throne. Prepare the extinction fleet. If we cannot break them with 30 ships, we will send 300. We will send 3,000. We will burn every world that shelters them until there is nothing left. He stared at the star map, at the tiny dot that represented Nova Inchon. No human defies the Dominion and lives. But even as he gave the order, something cold moved through his chest. Something that felt almost like fear. In a small settlement on a forgotten moon, a former salvage operator stood with 3 alien princesses and watched the stars. They were ready. The war was just beginning.